It's 6 p.m., so I'm going to call this meeting to order.
First thing I'd like to do is welcome Jennifer Williamson, our new board member. I think this might be your first official board meeting, and just the beginning of all kinds of fun in the future.
Thank you.
Jen, I believe you know everyone here, but would you like us to go around and introduce ourselves, or are you good?
I think I know everybody. I think I'm good, thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to do the agenda review next, and just looking down through the agenda, are there any things that need to be, added or whatever? If you have any revisions, any requested revisions. So I'm hearing none, and so the agenda is accepted without objection. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is behind you guys. Please stand and please join me for a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, next section of our agenda is the visitor section. Are there any visitors in the room that wish to address the board? I guess I'm not seeing any. Are there any visitors online that wish to address the board?
No one has said so, Nilda.
Okay, so moving on. The next part of the agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is those 4 items, which are minutes, the media packet, staff changes, and the annual work plans. Does anyone want to pull any of those out specifically for discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to accept, consent agenda is accepted without objection. Thank you. Okay, so next item is report to the board. The first item is the student board representative report. We have a student board representative. Oh, yes. There they are. Hi. I'm going to turn it over to you. Go ahead.
You ready, guys? Hello, everybody. My name is Kaylee Billings, and I'm a junior at BFA. We are reporting data we collected from BFA high school students who participated in our listening session. Listening sessions give students a chance to share their school experiences and ideas to help improve our schools. The topic for each listening session supports our MRUSD goals. During the event, participants engaged in several structured activities to explore questions and express their thoughts. This session's topic was support services for students and families. All students at each school have access to individualized learning opportunities and flexible pathways. So out of everybody, our attendance broken down came to 12 guests. We had 2 freshmen, 3 sophomores, 6 juniors, and 1 senior. We took some data and asked some questions, which you have, I think most of you have these little pie charts.
Yeah, hi everybody, Jacoby Soder here, senior at BFA, member of SVC, and a student school board member. So yeah, if you'll look at the pie chart, which was passed out to you earlier, you'll notice that the first one is the grade responses, and we had 50% of the participants were juniors, and then the next most common was sophomore. And then we kind of went through and we did by raise of hand questions, so we were able to get some really specific data that we could pull out and put into said pie charts. And so if we look like NCTC, 100% of the students were aware that NCTC existed. 83% of students were aware of advanced placement or AP pathways for classes. 83% of folks were not aware of flexible pathways, and that included work-based learning and independent learning. And the person who said yes was somebody who was already involved in flexible pathways. So it was not somebody who wasn't involved, but knew about it. So that was an area of wondering for us there, which we'll get into. And then the next question was, are you aware of dual enrollment? And 75% said yes, and 25% said no. And that may be because the folks who said no were younger and weren't really reaching that point yet. Any questions about that before we dive deeper into some more anecdotal evidence?
Was that a surprise to any of you? Was any of the information here a surprise to any of you?
None of the information here was a surprise, but there was some surprising information that we will get into.
So after we did those quick questions, we did a chalk talk. So we had some boards around the room that we took notes on, and students rotated around and answered some questions. So then we had a circle discussion for like the last hour and dove deeper into that. We divided it into 4 subsections that were major to students that we recognized. And the first one was post-high school pathways and awareness. This summary captures the key themes and insights from the focus group discussion regarding those pathways. There was a significant gap between the availability of programs and the student awareness of them, such as the VSAC talent search, advanced placement, student leadership roles, dual enrollment, free vouchers, and NCTC or Tech Center as a valuable resource. Only one person could define what work-based learning or flexible pathways are, which was very surprising to us because we had just had class meetings that explained it and we thought that it was more open, but it wasn't. There was a giant information gap that most students were unaware of flexible pathway options. They didn't know what independent studies were until their junior or senior years, and they often discovered them by chance through a specific teacher rather than formal orientation. The NCTC push was that students felt pressured to join NCTC and thought it was their only option to have a successful education. Some students felt judged for opting out, especially if they have high grades, while other paths like military options or flexible pathways receive far less promotion. We had a quote from a student. It says, "I'm a senior and I learned about work-based learning or independent learning this year during senior meetings." So this meant that they didn't have that access or those options until it was already too late pretty much. And then they felt like they were very behind and didn't have that same advantage that other students did have.
Our second one was personalized learning with one-size-fits-all. Students expressed a desire for more flexibility in how they learn and are assessed. The struggle with uniformity, a former homeschool student noted that public school teachers often use single instruction style that doesn't reach every student. And we have a direct quote that states, "I feel like public school in general just feels very one-size-fits-all. Everyone is learning the same way, same classes, same curriculum." Another one was testing anxiety. Midterms and finals were criticized for rewarding memorization over actual learning, which can damage the self-esteem of students who struggle with high-stake testing. Students acknowledge that the curriculum exams are great practice for college-bound students, but they have a less relevance for students who are directly going into the workforce. Success stories, classes like AP Psychology, Sociology of Crime, and Scientific Research and Design, Creative Writing, Independent Studies, and PBL courses were praised for allowing students to choose their own research topics or presentation methods.
Oh, and can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it is important to note here that during the listening session, all of the faculty and the classes that were really highlighted were all social studies classes, which we thought was interesting, considering that there are a plethora of different class groupings.
The third section that we noticed was the support services and mental health. A major theme was the invisible struggle of high-achieving students. We called it the academic pressure cooker. Students with high grades feel they aren't allowed to be stressed. They fear that taking a mental health break will cause their grades to slip, creating a cycle of anxiety. One student had an idea about allowing a certain number of mental health absences for students. This student is interested in presenting their idea to the school board. That's something that we might look deeper into, and they might create their own personal project for that. So we could look forward to that. Another section was the accessibility of support. So while Elizabeth, she's a resource here, kind of like guidance for students, and her dog is a very well-known resource. Her office is often full, making it intimidating for new students to introduce themselves. She's a very strong resource for students who find themselves struggling a lot and needing to take a break in the office to recoup themselves, and it's harder for new students to feel welcome there with such a high quantity of students. Guidance counselors are viewed as excellent for academic planning, but are often too busy for immediate emotional support, requiring appointments weeks in advance, making it harder for students to get the access they need right away. We had another quote from a student saying, "It's especially hard for kids who are doing well because they're not supposed to be stressed. They get less opportunity to figure it out, where they can get help or what they can do." Another quote says, "I have very good grades and I've gone to guidance many times. I still feel like I'm putting grades above my mental health." We thought this was very concerning, and we want to focus more on what we can do to make that easier for other students.
Our last one was encouragement and advanced pathway. The group discussed who gets pushed towards success and who gets left behind. Gatekeeping AP classes. Students voiced frustration over restrictions preventing sophomores from taking AP classes, noting that neighboring schools are more flexible. The power of encouragement. There are consensus that students who already do will receive the most encouragement. Controversially, students who struggle might only need a teacher who believe to attempt a harder path, but that push is often missing. The 8th grade transition. The transition from middle to high school was described as the game of telephone, where students received conflicting information about prerequisites, needing geometry or taking biology. And this is a direct quote: "When 8th graders are deciding what classes they want to take, they make it flexible pathways and work-based learning is known that it's an option for them early so they don't figure out too late."
Okay, so we know that was a lot of information kind of thrown out at you guys, so we were wondering if you had any questions about what students said or what you had to say.
I want to say this is wonderful work. It's really interesting to hear what you guys are speaking about, because I've been out of school for a while. It's my 20th reunion this year, and a lot of these issues I dealt with, like the mental health issues, the invisible thing, like hearing about like the pressure for high achieving kids. I went to a very high achieving school. And I think it's really awesome that you guys are having this conversation with each other, and I'm giving support and looking for support with each other outside of the realm of the traditional, like, because guidance counselors usually are guidance counselors in the sense of academic, not support. And so I really think this is amazing what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, and what's awesome is like on that paper you have all the quotes as well. So each quote that we read, and pretty much like a quick synopsis too.
Right, and we noticed that out of only 12 students showing up and the majority of them agreeing on this mental health struggle, we just wonder how many more students that don't get the opportunity to talk about how they feel, like how impactful that could be if we help them. Anything you guys want to add before we keep going? We had some recommendations from these students for improvement and options for that. Increased visibility. So they suggest that we hang posters for flexible pathways like work-based learning, independent learning, internships, and dual enrollment. Earlier exposure, introduce work-based learning and independent study options to 8th graders alongside the NCTC presentations. So oftentimes in middle school, before the transition to high school, NCTC comes and gives a presentation kind of offering what they have and showing them exposure before they get here. And we thought that maybe introducing the work-based learning aspect would be helpful too. Dedicated decompression. So create a neutral communal space for students to recollect themselves that isn't a formal counselor's office, because that can often be intimidating for students. And schedule flexibility. Allow students who have earned their required credits for each year to substitute a class for study hall to manage their workload. Some students take really hard classes or have a lot of extracurriculars and work outside of school, and they want that study hall period to manage their time. And a lot of students are being limited and restricted from that because they want to take more classes, and it's pushed on them a lot, so, yeah.
Any other questions?
Joanna's got a question.
I just wanted to know, would you like to share this information, or do you have plans on sharing this information with staff?
I think.
Do you want me to talk? I'll talk a little bit. That would be one of our next steps, which we just took this data last week, so we've had only a little bit of time with recruitment, which we'll talk about later. We've been pretty busy. We do plan on dispersing this information out a little bit more, but we wanted to present this first.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah, do we want to do what surprises?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Any more questions, really quick? Okay.
Yeah, so one thing that surprised our staff advisor was that when students were talking about where they got their information, we mentioned the social studies department ranked really high on that list, and not one of them we could have identified as one of their advisors or one of their case managers. So every student has an advisor, not every student has a case manager, but the folks who we worked with, not one of them were identified in one of those spaces. And so that was a little bit surprising when we were going through this and being like, okay, so advisory isn't necessarily serving the purpose of information in the way that we are expecting that it should. So that was definitely interesting. And then something that kind of surprised me was the mental health days, not in like a bad way, but I actually have a friend in Georgia who is working on a bill to have the state of Georgia have, I think it was 3 mental health days a year, and that was just kind of something that I was like, that would be a really nice thing to have for students here. So that was like a good surprise, and I'm glad that it was talked about, and I didn't know that until a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
this was like ironic for me because I had sent out an email to the Flexible Pathways person asking if they were planning on highlighting some of the students' work, because, you know, we do a fabulous job of highlighting sports and theater and music and whatnot, but, you know, that would be a really great place to be able to be highlighting what students are doing in the Flexible Pathways program. So not only to validate and celebrate the student, but also to make other students aware that this is an opportunity, this is a, you know, a pathway for them to be able to take as well.
Yeah, and some tangible next steps that we're gonna do is, like, we were thinking of like work-based learning and flexible pathways going alongside or adjacent to NCTC presentations in middle school. And we were working on like supporting people like Elizabeth so that there's more capacity there for some immediate SEL needs. And then, yeah, working on like developing advisory so that it could really serve as the function of like supporting, giving people information in a question answering circle rather than what it is now.
Yeah, and I've seen like NCTC, I think, put information together with work-based learning, but Flexible Pathways is not a part of that, so it's like, I think, a little lost in terms of how it's getting highlighted and celebrated.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The comment that I'd like to make is I'm looking forward to the drill down of some of the stuff that you're going to explore further to see what you come up with.
Yeah, and one quick thing is we're planning, and then we're about to hear the support services for students and families from the administrator side. So we're planning to have, to supplement the second semester reports of the goals with these. So second semester, we'll be and the goal is to ultimately work together with the folks who are going to be presenting on that side. So it's going to be exciting.
I just want to make one more comment quickly, is that, what an incredible amount of information you received from 12 people, right?
Right.
How difficult was this process?
It was to get people there was difficult. But,
Okay, but I guess I'm just saying,
Yeah.
in terms of gleaning the information from them,
Right.
right?
Naturally, the students that signed up for this listening session were the people who really had thoughts, they were eager to share, and probably had more experience with these issues and stuff. They seemed very talkative right off the bat. If we did have a bigger number of students that showed up, it probably would have been harder and more intimidating. So I'm glad that the first one was smaller and we got this much out of it. Now we know what to do better next time. And the goal is to get more students involved, but.
And
Awesome.
we did receive some teachers who invited us to go into their classes, and so that's something that we are working on. So
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I also wanted to add, I'm curious to hear more about in the future where kids are getting their information,
Yeah.
because I know that's something in my work we always struggle with, how do you let the youth know what's happening and find out who you guys trust for information.
Thank you.
I have a question for you, for Jacoby and the girls. I was wondering if you guys still have the peer counseling program at school.
Not
We
that
used
we're
to
aware
have
of.
a program a long time ago in the 90s called the peer counseling program, where it was just students talking to each other. And they were trained by the guidance counselors too, so maybe something.
They still
to
have
look
it at
into.
Enosburg.
That sounds really
Yeah.
cool.
That does
Yeah.
sound
Did
very
you make a
cool.
note?
Yeah, I just put that
Can you
down.
make a note about that information too?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And then, I quickly want to touch on, at the same time we've been hosting this listening session, we're also working on recruitment for the freshman board members who will be coming to meetings next year and sharing their voices with you. So we reached out to staff in February and we had 36 nominations of freshmen whose staff thought it would be a good fit for this, or who their voices would be important for the board to hear. And so right now we're just working through, we're doing one-on-one interviews with all of the people nominated who would like the opportunity. There are some people who it just doesn't fit their schedule, they don't have time, or it's not their priority. But of the people who want to be able to share their voices, we are meeting one-on-one with them to figure out who will be joining us next year.
Great, thank you. So we're gonna move on. Before I move on though, I just wanted to say two things that I forgot to say earlier. And one of them was to thank Northwest Counseling, Northwest Career and Technical Center for hosting tonight's meeting. And the other thing that I didn't mention when we were doing the agenda review is, yes, indeed, we are going to have an executive session. And if you look at your agenda, there's 3 different ones listed. We're going to lump them all together at the end of the meeting. So for efficiency and a bunch of reasons. So sorry, I forgot to tell you that. The next report is the supports for students and families. So I think I mentioned at the last meeting, as far as our process improvement process, we're going to do some of these reports as sort of a 2-step process. First step is to accept the report into the record. And then we'll hear the report and have discussion. And then the second step will be to actually accept the report. So, will be to approve the report. So what I want to do is get a motion that we accept the report from the of the supports for students and families, please. Can I have that motion?
I'll make the motion, Nakuma.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Mary Ann.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We're going to have discussion, and that discussion is going to involve the presentation first. And our presenters are John Bracco and Christina Poisano, I believe. Jonathan, I guess his name is, sorry, I apologize. And they're going to go over that report for us. And bearing in mind when you listen to this report that we want to talk about afterwards, what changes we might want to make in the monitoring report, or is there more information that we need, and what we as a board can do to help the process. So keeping those in mind and trying to look at this information through that lens would be great. And Jonathan and Christina, you're up.
Thank you. Where should we stand?
We're good. So yeah, these are the strategic plan goals. Not going to read from slides. So our goal is the support services of students and families. And this is our theory of action. These slides I think are put up a lot. So if we provide rigorous academics, blah, 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 go ahead. And then this is again, just kind of our action steps, what we need for resources, and then how we're gonna measure all of the successes that we will have. So for the first one, it's staff and students and families' perception of our academic rigor based on surveys. We currently have our district family relationship survey open through March 20th right now. We do have some from last year, but for comparison's sake, we have to wait for this one. And then without listing whole sheets of data, we went through our warehouse, and in general, we are all trending upwards across the board in every facet. Some are small, some are a little bigger. And we are also, we've been working with a new program, Open Architects, which has a much better view of all the data, so it's a lot easier to start looking at that stuff and also finding holes or where we need to plug them as well.
Identifying trends.
Yes. So, oh yeah, I did put this on there. The District Family Survey from the spring of 2025, school climate and school safety, we had 85% of favorable response and 75% of favorable response for school safety. That is a total. There are some subcategories below it that we can look into for maybe a little bit lower score, how we can grow those. And then obviously once we have the one that is open right now, we're gonna look at like what changed happened year to year and be able to compare all of that data. The SEL survey, it's generally been positive. I think the most interesting thing is that there were a few categories from the fall of 2024 to the fall of 2025, like just went down just a little bit, but then it was, with the work we've done, we actually brought everything back up to either equal or above what they were before. So we're also discussing in our leadership team how to use this data to like really drive our process forward as well.
And we've seen huge increases in participation of students in all of the buildings. I think we were over 90% participation in the fall. With that, I can speak for SATEC. We decided to do a winter check-in to be able to track any students who weren't identifying a trusted adult in the building and to see if we had any students slide. So that's something that we recently implemented as well.
And I would add on, that was a big push because it's hard to, when you don't have a lot of responses, to like know what the data is actually reflecting. So that was a big push, especially at BFA, to get just a volume of responses where we can say, no, this just isn't the, we're trying to make decisions on 20 people. And then this is a work in progress, service delivery and utilization menu of MRUSD services based on summary report data. This is a work in progress.
Yeah, last year when I was one of the members, the team members that gave this presentation, and our purpose was really giving an overview of what we offer for student and family supports in each of the buildings.
So the next step would be going through that menu of supports and then taking that data to see, and just what Nelda said, to see what we're doing and what we can do better and what we can add or change.
So as a slight asterisk on this whole presentation, I tried a new method of making it. So there's a lot of words on the slides. We're going to summarize it all for you. If you want to read it later, I apologize. I'm not like that, but I'm still playing with what I'm changing. So the first couple slides are really highlighting what is still going on, because I think that that's important. You go to the next one. So like we still have our dedicated roles. I'm going to step forward one. We still have our dedicated roles of our homeschool coordinators, our counselors, clinicians, social workers. We're working on attendance letters and postcards. This is really, we have our MTSS, we have our restorative practices, and what's interesting is we've gone deeper into these things. So they're still here, and we're still working through them, and we're working on them, and we're having our RP meetings, but something, for example, like our RP team here at BFA wanted to focus on our in-school suspension room. It's called in-school support. You know, how do we make that more restorative instead of just punitive? So we have the structures, and now we see people starting to dig into the actual like work, and the training has been done. You know, whether it's with staff at schools or just in general at leadership, we're moving past the kind of like set the system up phase. We're in the getting to the doing and like addressing stuff phase.
Yeah, I can add on for MTSS. We've done a lot of work in the elementary schools. I know you can speak for BFA, but something at SATEC, like last year we started case studies, which a case study would be a student that we know is slipping in one area. Let's do a data dive. Let's do a deep dive on that student to see what we might be missing and learn things that might not be on the surface. From there, as part of MTSS, teachers are meeting in grade level teams or in the upper grades with their teaching partner, along with an EST coordinator, which are this year our instructional coaches. And it's really to keep track, bring data to the table to make sure, okay, if we're targeting support in math, is it working? If a student has an SEL goal on an EST, or just increase that progress monitoring is something that, like John said, going deeper with the doing phase.
And just as some recognition, I know that Polly Rico and Sarah Katam, assistant principal and principal here at BFA, are actually presenting this to BFA, or to BFA, to the VPA, so they're actually leaving to go present our MTSS process to them because they like it so much, they want to know more. And we hosted a bunch of people came to BFA from other schools to explore how we support kids because they were impressed by what we were doing. So they were taking information, asking us questions, stuff like that. So
I'm going to jump on that. Last year I spoke at 2 conferences. Bill, one was the superintendent's conference.
It was in May of last year.
And another one was in May.
Yeah.
A bit club one, right?
Oh yes, you were there as well. Yes. And we were seeing all the feedback we received after was we were seen as leaders in the state for what we were doing with our MTSS work.
Not to jump in, but we also are going to be participating in a study because we've been recognized as high implementers, and I want to see what are the factors and conditions that led to our success. And so it's a study that, and there will be more information to come, but just some more recognition.
So this is BFA's kind of just, again, a review of like what we have here, the things that we're working on to really hit that tier 2, tier 3 level of support. Whether it's, we have social workers, and I know Elizabeth, our student support specialist, their work was highlighted. They got asked to go to the VPA Assistant Principals Conference and present there on all of their work they're doing into the building to other people. I think 15 is probably an understatement for how many she sees on a daily basis. I will also say one thing that is not reflected in this is the support she provides to staff. So staff will access her on a rough day. Staff will go to her office. I was there today. You know, like it's pretty impressive how much that has helped across the board. She has the skills, and I'm running at 1,000,000 miles an hour, so if I have a student who's really upset, she'll come down. and we'll do a nice little transition handoff, and we know that that student is getting quality support. We have our Lighthouse program, which is continuing to grow and evolve, bringing kids that are struggling to be in maybe your traditional classroom setting and giving them an alternative so that they can be successful. We have a student who is actually transitioned back here a couple classes a day because of the work they've done in that program. And then NCTC, kind of, thank you for covering that for my presentation. So, next slide. So there is a new program that's being piloted. We wanted to highlight that. It is Wayfinder. Go ahead.
So let's see, when I was in the classroom, I've been out of the classroom for 4 years. And when I was in the classroom, there was a lot of push to embed SEL, right? Social emotional learning, that's when it became a buzzword. And as a classroom teacher, you had your common curricular material to teach, and you knew you had to teach these skills, but the how wasn't really crafted for us. And it was, I know where I can go find the resources from some of the experts in the building, but again, when do I have the time to really dedicate and do that? So one of the first things that I wanted to do when I was a voice for that was sitting on the district committee who their job is to try and help teachers make the work doable, embed it in instruction. And so they spent a couple of years devoting time of looking at different programs and figuring out what would be the best fit for our schools. Wayfinder is based on the CASEL framework, and let's see, pilot schools, SATEC, Stack, Fairfield, there's another slide where it says who's piloting. I know SATEC and Fairfield are piloting. I think SACS is doing their PBIS work, so they'll look to see how we find Wayfinder went. Wayfinder representatives from there came to us in October and January during the in-service, and they trained our K-4 teachers in the morning and our 5-8 in the afternoon. Presenters were phenomenal, and the goal of Wayfinder is to give teachers, you have lessons targeted by skill already set for you, and you should be able to get a lesson and have it planned, ready to go, used in front of students within 5 minutes. That seems kind of undoable, but it's doable. Teachers are doing it, and the partnership between, there's more collaboration between our school counselors. They have more in-depth lessons that they'll do when they're teaching the class. And then they can see, you can build a lesson set. So if I was collaborating with John as school counselor, I can see what lessons he's chosen, even if I don't talk to him. He can see what I've reviewed with my class as well. So it's going very well. We're hearing great feedback. I can speak from that. So right up here, extremely positive experience in 3rd and 4th grade. There is an abundance of materials. So far we're happy with how that pilot is going.
And I think, and go back one slide. I think the other thing that's really when I was teaching, anything that can get me to actually teaching the kids and still put my touch on it, when I was reading through all the feedback, that's what really stood out to me, is that it saves time to actually teach them instead of trying to find all the perfect materials and get all the slides set up. It's also too, if there's a sub, if a teacher is a long-term sub, they're still going to get a good information for their development. So that's what really stood out to me, not really being in the pilot.
And it gives teachers the scope that you might, in the moment you might choose a lesson, but then you have more to go towards and extend that learning.
Okay, so hopefully this is good.
Yeah.
We decided to do something where we're gonna kind of talk about some of the supports that are happening that aren't standing on top of the mountain yelling. We all kind of know we need SEL, we know there's MTSS, so I'm just gonna kind of go through this, and I wanted to pull more human stories, so this was, everything you see up here, while summarized and condensed, all was directly from staff, students, things like that.
Yeah, we received a volume of feedback, and when we first decided what was the direction we wanted to go with the presentation, I thought of what we presented last year with giving you a scope of what we offer. Now we want to give you real-time stories that are making an impact for the students in our building, so you can see what's actually going on in the student's day.
So this is from Spring Academy. This is a very small school that was very new to our district. And this is about a student who started the year only attending half of their day and now has transitioned to full days, is developing strong relation skills, positive peer relationship. It's actually like they've talked about how the family has come on board and it's built that community connection. It also, the small environment allowed for those like one-on-one discussions to help his growth. You know, the teachers are all in. I actually was talking with their school counselor today, and she went far beyond and created this entire, like, someone stole my flag that I have on my wall, and they had to find evidence, and like, just watching them interact, and she's like, it was crazy because here are kids that are struggling, and yet as soon as they were given this, and with this small environment, they all clicked and they were working, and then they got really mad when they found out that she had misplaced it. So, you know, really like showing that like these kids, I mean, we've had data where their attendance is going up, their referrals are going down, like it's helping them transition to BFA, and we have a better understanding of who they are and can meet them where they're at and then continue to help them through BFA.
Awesome.
And I can speak from, like, our Spring Academy students, they're from the elementary schools. This is a grade 5 through 8 program. And they're still, even though if a student moves to Spring Academy and changes their schedule over there, they're still a SATEC or a SACS or a Fairfield student. We are still involved in either the 6-week or the monthly meetings for them, and we're part of their team to hear how they're doing. And some of these students, including this story, they just stand out because when you're sitting, like when you're serving a student in a public education setting and you're trying all of these different ways to increase their engagement, make them feel connected, sometimes it's just not the right fit. Sitting in a classroom with 20 to 25 students sometimes just isn't for you. And I've seen such successes that warm my heart because I've seen these kids come up through middle school, and some of our students that are there are thriving. This student, well, stories like this student, I was in a meeting last week and a father said, my kid finally wants to come to school. They come home and they talk about their learning. Before, I used to have to convince them to get there, but the smaller setting, the ability to have a one-on-one relationship with more adults works for some students. So we're hearing big success stories now that this program is in its second year and a half of implementation.
So this is I was involved with this, not the creation, they just used me and my name to push things through. But this was a PLC group, professional learning community, that decided that they wanted to focus on reducing the negative impacts of putting a kid out of the building. Which is up there, and if I'm saying to a student, look, I gotta put you out, school suspended, that's a big deal. Like, we are removing them from the community and saying, you're not welcome here for a brief period of time, but then just come on back, it's all good. So they said, no, we need to have a better collaborative support model. And whether it's an out-of-school suspension is where we're starting just to kind of pilot it, but this is gonna be also for, you know, if a student has to have, we have, you know, medical procedures, they're gonna be out for an extended period of time. There's a family dynamic or a family issue where they're gonna be out. So what they decided to do is it's mostly tier 2 staff, guidance counselors, social workers, our online coordinators, stuff like that, our 504 coordinator. They created a shared document, and what happens is we have an email, so when I have to put a kid out, I send an email to this team, and within about 2 minutes, someone's in my office. And they sit down with the kid and they run through a laundry list of like, do you have your Chromebook? Do you have a charger? You know, do you have anything in your classes you need to bring home with you? You know, do you know what work you need? Like, just really going through a checklist, because we found that, like, otherwise they just walk out the door and they have nothing. Then what really surprised me is they don't just do that. Then there's follow-up. They send a shared document to the teacher for all their work. They arrange to have paper copies at the front desk that the family can pick up. They set up daily meetings with the student, and it might just be, hey, is everything okay? Thumbs up, cool, click, hang up, and or not. They have assigned, one of their team is assigned as a contact for the parent. So one of the students that we did this with was incredibly successful. The parents could not believe it was going on. They would call and be like, hey, my kid's missing this, and we'd have it at the front desk within an hour, and they could come pick it up. They expressed that it was so much better and I think it's removing excuses and really supporting the parents. And then when the kid came back, we found he was like, yeah, I'm just coming back to school. Like, he was caught up, he knew what he had to do. You know, it really humanizes the process. It's not, we don't want you, it's, we have to do this process, but we want to support you coming back and being a member of this community. I will be honest, I was a little skeptical on if students would hop on a Google Meet to talk to someone about their schoolwork, but the parents literally appreciated it because then an email was sent to the parents saying, yeah, your kid checked in, they've done this, this, and this. So it's like, it's really fostering that connection and really making sure that we're not kind of double penalizing the kid who doesn't take their work home or have the Chromebook, and then they come back and then they're behind and they were out and they feel like it's just, it really is removing that. So we're really gonna keep moving forward this and enhancing it. So this was, and I just like highlighting this because this was totally teacher driven. I just showed up in a meeting and they're like, can we do this? And I was like, yeah.
We talked about a lot of this. So SATEC Fairfield ECP, I forgot to mention ECP, they're piloting Wayfinder.
Early childhood program.
Yep, thank you. At City School, older grades are starting to implement circles. They are also in year 2 of PBIS. K2 is using morning meetings. So Fairfield is continuing their weekly circles with grades 4 through 8, and grades K through 5 meet monthly, focusing on specific themes. And then BFA.
Yeah, BFA. So we're really trying to push some more restorative practices into our school community. One of the big things is changing our in-school support room to be more of a student resource center. So yes, obviously that is where we will put kids that have suspended. However, it is also a place that should you need 5 minutes to recoup, there's a Zen Den in there right now. There's extra seats if you just, like you arrive late and you need a second to eat your breakfast, you could go there and do it. So we're really gonna start pushing that. We have a lot of stuff to launch next year when we rebrand it, and we have, my ISS monitor is great, she's already created like a new logo for it and everything. But we realized, and maybe a little bit to what our students presented, like just a place like, hey, you know what, I just need a minute. And then you go, and then we also are gonna track that because that's another source of data. How many kids are accessing it? What supports do they need? And you never know when that one kid walks in and they're saying they have a rough day, and you find out a bunch of information that now helps support them better. So just creating as many points of contact for a student in there. Also too, some of our student leaders presented to our district SEL RP team, and the feedback made it back to me, and so I immediately started digging into it and seeing what we could do to support some of their suggestions and stuff like that.
When you are doing that, it'd be great to start with 9th grade, because there's so many kids who are in 8th grade that have take a break that they can utilize, and then they go to high school and then they have no place to go.
Right, and having those spaces, because it is something I'm wrestling with, is like, I need a break. Well, you can't sit in my office.
No, but it can be in the classroom.
Right, like how do we give those spaces and create it in a way that like everyone is accountable and we know where they are and can support them, absolutely. So Spike's here. Sorry, right there.
A BFA and SATEC staff member.
Go ahead.
So this is one of the real stories that we wanted to talk to you about. SATEC actually has 4 therapy dogs, all who have gone through certification. And let's see, 2 would be located in the back of the building. We're going to showcase Spike, his work at both SATEC and BFA, as well as Phoebe, who is one of our school nurse, one of Kathy's dogs. And it's just, we call it the Spike effect. So the effect that Spike has on students and staff alike, it really brings that warm, homey feeling, which is what you need sometimes when you leave home and are headed off for a day without your parents. Katie, she had a quote that isn't included in here, but it was, she gets asked, and maybe this happens to you, but she gets asked so often, hey, is Spike here? Not, oh, hi, Mrs. Campbell. She's like, I've gotten used to that, it's okay. A couple of stories is, you know, I walked by going into first grade the other day and I could see through the doorway of Katie's office, and I know the student in there is, you know, a reluctant reader. Katie works as a reading interventionist for our younger grades, well, across grades, but this student, like Spike, provides the leverage to want to engage with the material. This kiddo had a few goals to meet and got to spend the last 3 minutes laying on the floor with Spike, just, you know, cuddling before going back to class. That got this child through the lesson to do the work they needed to do to become a reader. So thank you, Spike.
At BFA, I'm just gonna speak for Mike, I guess. It's weird, he's right behind me. You know, I mean, today was a challenging day for myself, and you know, just coming in and just literally just petting him for a few minutes perked me up. I mean, I watched and purposely, you know, people walking by and smiling as they saw him, and that's true. I mean, he walks down the hall, you can watch the opposite direction and every kid has a smile. You know, a kid who is struggling to focus is suddenly calm and relaxed because Spike is just near him or her. You know, Mike doesn't teach 900 kids, but guarantee if I say, hey, is the kid he's the teacher with the dog, oh yeah, I know that guy. You know, like, it creates more connections, it creates those relationships, and I think Mike said it really well. It's like, it opens the door. The dog is the reason he connects with certain kids. And staff, I have to go back to staff because, you know, staff are interacting with our students every day, and their mental health is equally as important, and them being regulated and able to support kids is equally. And just knowing that a staff member ran into Spike at a water fountain and said, you don't know how much I needed this today. Like, that just may have started their day off just a little bit better so that they can, you know, overcome whatever they're struggling with. Go ahead.
Well, I would just add, our therapy dogs are another tool in the toolbox for a teacher to use when a child's dysregulated, upset. You're trying to, you know, pull out all the things to turn their day around. And sometimes it's, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's see if one of the dogs are around. And Katie has made quite a few connections with students that aren't even on her caseload, students she doesn't necessarily know or work with because of Spike. They'll come see, and if it's a, you know, if it's a BFA day for Spike or Spike has the day off, they've now formed a connection with Katie and they can check in, share about their day, take that break that they need, and then head back to class feeling more engaged.
Elizabeth, our student support specialist, also has dogs, and I have watched a kid in a full dysregulated, completely like, we have no idea what he's gonna do, and this tiny dog, not dog, gets handed and like handed to a kid and they melt. Like, literally you watch them instantaneously, they're regulated. I can't do that. So I'm happy to let the dog. Next slide.
Here's Phoebe.
This is Phoebe. I loved reading this feedback. This was my favorite, so I'm totally going to override the principle of SATEC and just talk about it.
I'll chime in after.
Yes, I'll do the quote. Like, the quote is really what got me, is that he isn't just a dog. Like, when it's a dog, but he's not just visiting, he's learning something. He's practicing emotional regulation he needs to succeed in the classroom. Like, that's power, like, a dog did that.
John's talking about a student where it was one of those students, we were trying everything and this student would become dysregulated and we couldn't figure out what was reinforcing, what would work, what would help soothe and calm, so that you could do that skill building once they were regulated and able to do the work. And it was Phoebe. I think this student was on a walk because Phoebe's in the back of the building near the Olders. And Phoebe missed stats, so the student would go on a walk, and then once they made that connection, we were able to set up goals. Like, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z, if you do this over the course of the week, you can get extra visits, from Phoebe. And the nurse, Kathy, even she makes things, and I forgot them, they're on my desk, but she made a sticker called the Phoebe Club. Phoebe Fan Club for this student. And they said, you know what? A student who wasn't connected to their class, they're like, I want to share stickers for my whole class. Can you make my whole class stickers and come do a special visit? So they did that last week. Phoebe went and they passed out stickers, and now that student was able to bring that to their classroom, and it's just such a sense of empowerment and connection as well.
When I found out about this when I first came here, that the fact that our cosmetology goes down to our elementary schools and cuts their hair, or the students, no, that sounded weird. They go down and they cut students' hair for free. Not only are they practicing their skills on an actual human, but they are also forming those connections. They're showing they get to see their former. It's like the most win-win there is. They get to practice their skills. They get to connect with former teachers. They get to show younger students what is offered. There's even things like those kids now have connections that will go to the sports games of the high school kids to support them because they got their hair cut. These are the little things that really just have that positive climate and connect us instead of just being a high school and an elementary school. It's no, we're just MRUSD, we're one community. And you can talk to more about the effect.
Yeah, I was so excited CTEC got to participate in this opportunity this year. I know they did haircuts at City School last year, and I believe this year as well, and they go to surrounding schools. So NCTC from the cosmetology program actually reached out, and I can't remember how many they sent, at least I think 5 to 6 different chairs we had going through the course of half of a day. They provided over 20 haircuts. And it's a way, I think we can all remember when we're in school, you'd want to get to know the big kids, right? You think they're inspiring, you want to know more about them. And it's a way for the olders to connect back to their schools. It was great to see some of my former students doing real job skills, right? This is on the field, hands-on experience, giving back. And students were so excited that the older student who you look up to, whether you know them or not, were there to give you a haircut. It made them feel really special to be one of those 20 kids. And parents, overwhelmingly, our list filled up so fast when we put this out to the community. So it's something that I hope we can continue.
So the next one was actually, I have to blame JT over at SATEC because we were chatting and he was in the background and he said something about all of the students that go down there and actually work in the classrooms.
He said we're building a really special, strong partnership between our sending schools and NCTC.
And this is one of those things that the impact is almost unmeasurable because it supports the teachers, it supports the kid, it supports the student teacher, it supports the entire classroom. The teacher has an extra body in the room. There was a quote, and it might be on the next one, that they're empowered to be that presence in the room. They'll just go do stuff as a teacher in the room with kids. This is a classroom teacher, patience, guidance, genuine care. Had a profound impact on this student's day-to-day, guiding him to more positive choices, which maybe that teacher might not have that time for that intense one-on-one. And that person is also learning skills on what it's like to be an educator in a classroom with students and not just in theory. I will say personally, when I look at resumes and stuff, if I see stuff like this, it automatically pushes that resume to the front because I know they have more experience. They've had mentorship. I also know the program here, I've looked in, the program here is phenomenal, what they teach the kids, a lot of what they're doing. And it's kind of that same effect of look, this is a BFA kid, they're taking their time to come down and spend time with me. And they extend, and this, they even here, they're going to events of the classroom teacher because they form that deep connection.
Yeah, to jump in to speak from our SATEC experience, we had 8 NCTC students looking to go into the field of education come and intern in our school this fall. And then Jason is point on this, and he just met with, from BFA, forgetting his name.
Liam Mahathir.
Rob.
Oh, Rob there?
Rob.
Yes, Rob came over yesterday. And I think we're looking to place 10 student interns for the springtime.
And then,
I just have a few quotes. I'm really passionate about this because I am a homegrown educator. I started, I lived here, I came back to this community, I taught 9 years in Enosburg, and then I wanted to come back to St. Albans and give back to the community in which I grew up and I went to school. And I want to see, well, the hiring is shifted. When I was going for teaching jobs 20 years ago, you were going up about 200 different applicants. Now, as a principal, I was happy to see, like, what keeps me in bed at night is are people going to apply for our openings. And I was glad to wake up this morning and see people had applied for some openings. I'm like, okay. But I want to see that connection where you go off and you know in your hometown that door is always open and people are there to want to see you and want to see these skills. And giving a shout out to you, Bill, part of his job is supervising me as principal, is saying we need to empower people. Build those connections, show them that it's just that collective ownership. And I think that goes to our student interns. And here are some of the feedback we've had from teachers. It was overwhelming. I sent this out. They got back so quickly. And it also goes along with just being short-staffed, Our buildings aren't fully staffed with the ESP staff that we need. And it was like a saving grace that we had this opportunity. So teachers are saying grateful. Both the students and myself have benefited. Our student interns are coming in very eager, very skilled. They're willing to try anything. They're excited about their future in education. It's a great field-based experience. I added that myself because I can tell you what made me a better teacher was being immersed in different classroom settings. Not learning in the textbooks. It was getting into different placements. One student intern is leading small group activities for the teacher, and the teacher has full trust, is in the room with them, but is willing, or has full faith that they're going to be able to do the task. I think that's what I had, but, mentorship. One teacher, one of our second grade teachers said, I was grateful to be able to give the role of being a mentor to someone in our high school. Just such a gift that we're able to do that.
and I think, don't go to the next slide. I think also too, these are the things that we wanted to highlight, because how do we take the really good stuff and then keep growing? How do we add more interns? I'm sure there's a limit, but we can just keep adding. So how do we support and grow from the in if we're struggling to get outside? How do we promote that? And then, just a second grader saying they're really fun to work with, kind, and are funny. It's pretty high praise from a second grader. And I've been over there and walk through the hallways and I see the kids and it's almost like I had to double check that they're a high school student because they're acting like educators in that building. Now you can go to the next slide. I think before we have our last slide, I did want to mention there are countless of these stories across the building. Every building, if my secretary's slipping me a note saying, hey, this kid came to check with you and he looked really upset. You might want to take care of that. Just looking out for the kids, providing snacks for the kids. I know Teresa, our principal secretary, I think her entire closet is snacks for kids that are hungry. Because an hangry high school student is an interesting high school student. Our janitors are coming down and alerting me to things. I had some graffiti in one of our bathrooms and he was up there like that, removing it so I didn't have to lock the bathroom the whole day. These are embedded everywhere, so our goal here was to really just say that it's the entire community that's supporting our staff, and it's not always just the big data piles that we have, that these are Spike walking in this room, I think it's probably gonna be a different board meeting because he was here. They are really the foundation of student success. They're always speaking up, they're advocating, they're doing things that we never even hear about, and we were trying to bring that forward. So, we're gonna end on a quote from Katie Campbell.
Sorry, I'm trying. Oh, there we go.
One student had a difficult time transitioning into SATEC last year. They did not feel comfortable speaking to adults at school, and being in the classroom was very difficult for them. But a few months into the school year, they began to initiate conversations with me in the hallway. It began as wanting to talk about Spike, but it has grown over the last year and a half. They now come into my office on a regular basis to visit Spike as an earned break for work completion. They have never worked with me for a literacy intervention, but they offer me a hug each time they see me, recently asked to have lunch with me, and tells me each day, "Tell Spike I said hi."
And this was a student that wouldn't talk to anyone. And now says hi to people in the hallway.
Done.
Those are some of the real-time ways we support students across our buildings.
Well done. Thank you. Can we have,
Thank you.
can we have Spike?
Thank you very much for that. That was really informative, and I gotta check to see if there are any questions from the board, please.
I don't have a question, but I really like all of it was amazing. But that reentry program for students, I think is vital. I grew up in a neighborhood where kids were suspended often, and then you're suspended for a week, you go back, you're already behind, because you're not doing the best, and then you go back and you're now extra behind, and then the success rates for those students lower even more because it's now even more difficult to go up. So I think that program is going to be really interesting to see, because I think that is, kids who are getting suspended need the extra support, and that's why they're getting suspended usually, and then now you're giving them the support from SLEAD to come back in and continue forward, and hopefully finish their whole career.
It allows the opportunity to pull them back in, and allows them the chance to reset.
And create community around them, because a lot of those times the kids don't have the community that they need around them, and so creating that community with the families is amazing.
Well, and I think, and it's hard to do those things in my role because it is shame-based. Like I'm essentially saying you are no longer welcome. So to do something while they're out to say, no, you just needed a break. Like what was going on wasn't great, and like you're not part of us. You got it. You're still connected. We still care about you. We want to help you correct your mistakes before they're out in the real world, right? Like we still have that opportunity. So why not make the most of it and have them enter back into the building with a lot less shame and a lot less worry and stress.
Yeah. You didn't abandon them.
Yeah.
For 10 days, right?
You know, and I think too, like when we get to the point where we're doing like longer, like if someone has to go down to a hospital for a month stay, like that I'm looking at this now of like, oh my gosh, like we don't have to be super creative. We can literally just do what we normally do and make sure they're supported while they're out. You know, I'm even already shooting it into like, if you want to, like we have, you know, families that only can take vacations in certain times, so they have to take it during school. It's like, well, okay, but like, how do we then support you coming back and not encountering, you know, here's your small amount of work you need to make up. You know, I just had this great time, but now I've got, you know, 2 weeks worth of work to do. So, you know, there's a lot of, and I think what was interesting about as we were going through this is like, oh yeah, we could really start growing this more, or we could do this more, or like, you know, just like they're talking about like, how do we get more people to know about like flexible pathways? Like, maybe it's about like, I've always wanted a therapy dog. Like, what is that process? Here is the process that if you want a therapy dog in MRUSD, what do you have to do? So it's not this hidden secret that might just somehow figured out. Right? Like it's like, no, you want it, go through this process, and then you're fine. So it's trying to take the positive and then just really like expand it out.
This was amazing. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And to jump on this too is, and John did mention it, that this came out of the PLC process, which was something that we've been really intentionally developing, and the PLC team at the district level has done a really wonderful job of helping to define and bring even more structure to it, and the fact that we have that time to dedicate to looking at what are the opportunities within our system to support our students more effectively, that this is a real result that came from that PLC process and that investment and dedication of time. And so I just wanted to make sure that that was also highlighted, that us having the PLCs has afforded us the opportunity to look critically at something and bring something to the system that is benefiting students now and can be expanded to benefit more students in the future.
And they were just like, I was like, okay, I'm like, I can't support some of this, like, my job won't do that, like, I don't have the time, like, no, we're doing it, we just need your help with these 3 things. I was like, okay, you know, like, and that's, I think, what's more empowering is this was staff driven.
That's awesome.
Like, this is not me, and we're gonna perfect it, I already screwed one up, but that's fine, that's not me. You know, so I think that we can really grow that to make it even more impactful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay. Well, thank you that was very thorough and very interesting, great slides. When you try something new here, you always screw it up, Nilda. But I forgot to vote on the motion to accept the report into the record. So can we do that first, please? Somebody made the motion, I think Nikuma made the motion, and someone seconded it.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Mary Ann.
Mary Ann, okay. So we need a vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. So now the next part we need to do is, ultimately we have to decide whether we're going to have a motion to approve the report. But we were asked to look at that report, bearing those questions in mind that I mentioned before. I don't know if we have time to do this all, but does anyone have anything they'd like to mention related to what changes you could see in the monitoring report, or what more information needs to be identified, and what can the board do to help?
I did like the anecdotal data, because I know a lot of times we're giving numeric data, having the anecdotal data kind of reinforces what we're seeing metrically. So I really, really appreciated the anecdotal aspect of this.
We're a business, I always say this, when you're in the millions of $30 million, you're a business, we're just in the business of humans, so you gotta add the human element.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that aspect of this.
Anyone else? The only thing I had that came up is, it was mentioned several times, it would be great to see more data related to family engagement as far as this whole process goes. Because my gut is it's happening just by your reporting on this, but that would help, and we have a goal related to encouraging family engagement. So we could work on that. Is there anything the board can do to help the district meet some of these goals? Why don't we think about that if we don't have an answer right now? And maybe we can bring this up again to follow up. I need a motion to approve the report that you just heard on supports for students and families.
We accepted.
I'll make the motion, Joanna.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion needed? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
I screwed that up. All in
It's okay.
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. So we have this report in our record, we've approved it. Thank you for all the work that went into this report. Guess we'll move on to the next item, which is the Northwest Center, geez, I'm having like a brain freeze today. NCTC student performance data. And that is going to be presented to us by me and Lisa.
Yes.
And here you go. All yours.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure out the best place to be, and after watching my colleagues move back and forth, if it's okay, I think maybe right here or
You can play
over in the corner?
Well, the kids aren't
Is
there.
that okay? All right.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone to NCTC. We always love hosting people in our space. This is a small space, so thank you for being in here. Luckily, we don't have a lot of visitors. Erin is passing out a hard copy for you to review. Also, you'll have a link in your agenda, and then it will also be up here on our screen. I want to recognize that you've been talked at for a long time. You've got a lot of information in your brains, and I'll try to be succinct so that you know what we're celebrating. We have a poster here to my left, your right, depending on where you're sitting, that we celebrated with our staff on Thursday. We exceeded all of our negotiated targets. And what I'm talking about is the student performance and Perkins accountability that we must do every year with the Agency of Education and with the federal government. The federal government is called Perkins, and they monitor us to make sure that we're doing everything that we can for kids. There's so much with Perkins, but I just wanted to give you a quick sentence on what it is. So their major tenets is that we focus on CTE programming improvement, flexibility, and data and accountability. And so that's exactly what you're seeing here from NCTC. So I'm just going to go through each of the indicators and talk about our negotiated target and then how we performed. And you're also going to see on this sheet how the state performed. So there's 17 other career and technical education centers that participate in all of these targets. And if you don't know this about me, I'm a little bit competitive, and so my goal is to make sure that we are at the state target, and I'm beating all of my colleagues.
Because that's what's important.
Very important. What you're also going to see is year-over-year data from NCTC. So starting in FY21 and then through FY25. So you're going to be looking at the most recent data around FY25. This was just given to us last month. It usually takes about 6 to 7 months to get the information back. So the first one is the 4-year graduation rate, where we have a 96.55%, and then the target was 96.35, so we exceeded there by just a bit. And so the agency likes to see our students graduate in 4 years. Is it a terrible thing for a student to not graduate in 4 years? No. Sometimes students need a little bit longer to finish their credits, and that's fine. But the Agency of Education likes to see us, and the federal government likes to see students graduate in 4 years. So you can see there might have been a couple of kids that just needed a little extra time last year. The next one is academic proficiency in English language arts, and we administer, again required by the Agency of Education, we administer an assessment called Work Keys, which measures foundational real-world skills to support students for career and college. And in our English language arts, you'll see we performed at 45.48 with a negotiated target at 35.04. I think I was going to tell you how the negotiated target came about, and I didn't get there. I got distracted about being competitive. But it's an average of the 2 years of our performance, and there's a state formula in there, and then they add a bit of it for anticipated annual growth. So depending on the indicator, they have a certain percentage of growth that they add to it. So that's how the negotiated targets are figured out. Moving on to math. So we've got the math proficiency. We performed at 53.06, and the target was 48.57. I want to back up a little bit. You'll notice that there was some orange in the English language arts, which indicated that we were not performing at the appropriate level, and we needed to make an improvement plan. And part of the improvement plan was adding an English interventionist or integrationist. And so we have a teacher that works with every program, and also professional development has helped to support our CTE teachers on integrating English. They'll tell you they're not English teachers, they will never profess to be, but they know their content and they can make sure that they support students on understanding what's needed in English language arts for our programming. So you'll see that we dug out of that hole there based on those two interventions. The academic proficiency in science, the assessment that goes with that is it called VTCAP? Oh, I never can get the acronym right. So that's the assessment that all high school students take in 11th grade. And that's popped in here in Career and Tech Ed so that we can see the measures for science. So our center-wide rate was 29.71 and our negotiated target was 25%. Moving on to post-program placement. So it's important for students that are in Career and Tech Ed to have a plan after high school. So we want to ensure that they're either going to college, that they're going to be employed in a related field in which they are in Career Tech Ed. And so this is how we're rated here. So the post-program placement is very high for us. You'll see we're almost at 100% there, and our negotiated target was at 97. So us being a 2-year program, usually students will decide that if it's not for them, they'll leave after the first year, but after the second year, they're pretty committed, and more obviously 99% of the students move on to something that's related or college. We also have what's called non-traditional program concentration. So we want to make sure that our programs are inviting to all gender. So we are rated on whether we have students in non-traditional fields or careers or programs. So that's an example of that is having males in cosmetology or females in construction or automotive. And it's just been an indicator that the agency and the federal government measures us on. So we do what we can to make those places inviting, including making sure that our students are welcoming of all genders. And you'll see that we performed there with 14.39 with a negotiated target of 14.11. I was just going to blow through all of these and then ask for questions. Moving on to Program Quality Tier 2 IRC. IRC is Industry Recognized Credential. And so that is, the industry recognized credentials are credentials of value that our students must take in most programs. So an example of that is in our automotive program, there is automotive service excellence. So that's recognized by all the car dealerships. And that's what they train their technicians when they go in to get to be a technician. So our students get that here in high school. And you'll see that our center-wide rate was 62.14, and then our negotiated target was 58.17. Moving on to program quality college credits, which we call dual enrollment in Career and Tech Ed. And so in every single one of our programs, it's dictated that they either have an industry recognized credential, a college credit, or both. It's required in every single technical center program. And so you'll see that we're doing very well there with 55% as a statewide rate, and then the target was 38.06. And then lastly, we talked a little bit about the work-based learning program earlier about BFA, it not being well known. I can understand that. It's typically tied to Career and Tech Ed, so I think it's getting off the ground in high schools. And you may or may not know, but our work-based learning coordinator is in the same office as the BFA work-based learning coordinator, so they work together. And kids that can't be serviced through us, he'll work with Liam or the BFA work-based learning coordinator, and back and forth. So they really know all the kids. So there's no reason why kids shouldn't know about that. So we'll definitely work on that. So the work-based learning statewide rate was 56.43, and our negotiated target was pretty low there at 28, so we blew that one up. I'm happy to answer any questions about this that you might have. Trying to see if there's anything else I wanted to share with you, but I think
Can you just remind me what negotiated target is?
Yeah, so the negotiated target is, it's our past 2 years' performance, within any one of these categories, and then there's a state formula where there's anticipated growth, or they're saying you should improve, right? Every year you should be putting interventions into your teaching and learning for the percentages to improve. And so I've got all kinds of reading on that for you if you're interested.
I have a question. Is the statewide rate an average of all the schools or a target for all the schools? What does that mean by statewide rate?
It's the average. Yep. And we have each of the schools' performance that we get. So we're able to see where each school lands. So if someone has like a really high non-traditional program concentrator rate, I can say, hey, what are you doing that's helping that? Sometimes it's just a coincidence. You've got 3 females in building trades and a male in cosmetology that year, and it just brought your rate up. But sometimes there's deliberate actions in those schools.
Do you feel like you can, with the current resources that you have, do you feel like you can raise the program quality tier to the IRC? Or is it because you don't have the staff, or is it you don't have the capacity to be able to offer more? Is that the right one? Those are the ones, yeah, the industry, yeah, the credentials, sorry. Woo.
Yeah, one of the things that we targeted is the English language arts, so being able to read the test, to be able to pass it and increase the performance. And they're difficult assessments, so they're at the adult level, like I said, for the ASE, auto technicians take them when they're 19, 20, 21, and sometimes 35 through the auto dealership, and we're asking 17 and 18-year-olds to do that.
I misunderstood. I thought it was being able to offer more options, more opportunities for students, but you're saying this is the rate in which that they pass
That's their
those.
performance. That's
Gotcha.
right.
Okay, thank you.
That's their performance. Thank
Gotcha.
you.
I think you said, Leanne, that all of our programs have to offer an IRC.
They have to offer an IRC.
So every program has to have an industry-recognized credential.
Right, I didn't know if that's what,
So-
that was what my
Yeah.
confusion was, if
Yeah.
we just needed to offer more, or if, so it's about the rate of completion,
Yes.
I understand.
We'd be in trouble if we were not offering them.
No, yeah, I got that.
By a few people.
My second question was around the work-based learning. Do you feel like you have enough area businesses who are willing to provide internships or work-based learning for students? Or do you have enough of a diversity of options for students?
I'm going to say yes and no to that, and it's twofold. One is that we're held hostage to time. We're time-based in school, so when we offer work-based learning, they have to find it in their schedule during the day to do that. So have they satisfied all their credits at their home high school? They can go during their program time, in the afternoon and the morning, but it's only 2 hours long. So by the time you get to the business and you do whatever you're about to do, it's time to pack up and leave. Sometimes businesses are flexible, and let's say they participate in the afternoon during the program time, and then they'll push it right until 8 o'clock, depending on the business. So it just depends on each sector and when they're open.
Gotcha.
It's a lot to knock on the door. So we've got BFA students that are doing flexible pathways. We've got NCTC doing flexible pathways. We have Cold Hollow. Every other high school is wanting a piece of the industry, and so it's a lot to ask of them and to coordinate.
Yeah.
And there's some safety concerns around certain jobs as well. So it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot to ask.
Do you work with the Notch at all?
We work with NCSS and NMC. The Notch, Lisa, are you familiar with?
Yes, we do work with
Oh,
them.
Are we
okay.
working with them this year?
I'm not sure about this year, but we have worked with them in the past, and they're a big supporter of ours. They're coming to our job interview workshop next week.
Oh, great. Yeah, I was just in a meeting with the director, and she had expressed interest in offering more job shadows. So if you weren't, I was going to connect you.
Thank you. And as Christina and John said eloquently, our human services students are filling a great void in our elementary schools as paraeducators. So they take a paraeducator course through their human services programs, and we have the automatic interview process once they complete that, and as you heard, many of them are hired.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Leanne. Okay, so next item on our agenda.
I'm sorry, can I bring up one more thing?
You sure can.
Sorry about that. I've had a lot of students who have graduated from BFA, and even some of them attended NCTC, some of them hadn't, who are now in college, coming home in the summers and looking for internships and whatnot. And many of them, I'm finding, are staying in the city of where they're going to college because there's not enough here. Is that an opportunity that you provide or are thinking about providing? Just if we're trying to get our students to stay in Vermont, and work locally, make this their home, how are we currently, or could we be thinking about offering different internship and internship opportunities for students in the summer and post graduation?
So we don't have a lot of staff during the summer to supervise them or to coordinate that. We haven't done it with students that have graduated. They have come back to say, hey, can I talk through X, Y, or Z, and we'll provide counseling or coaching for them. But I haven't experienced any student that has graduated and come back for an internship. Not opposed to it though.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So to extend off of that, there's two other things. Is we have the career development program here. So the technical center, we provide additional training to high school students and adults if they're interested. So we do have students who come back in the summer and call me to say, I'm interested in a welding program, or I need to get my LNA because I'm applying to school to become a, what is it, the P, starts with P. Physician's assistant. So I do get a lot of calls about that, which is great. And something that's new that we've started is based on Rob and Liam being in the same room for careers. What we've done is we've sent out an alumni survey to the graduating seniors for the last 2 years. We only have 57 responses at this point, but the questions were, what are you doing now? And what do you need help with now?
Cool.
And here are some resources.
Great.
And please call us if you have any questions. So at least we've started that.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you. All right. Next item is old business. So we have the Vermont education system reform status and update. Bill?
Yes, thanks, Nelda. Nothing has come out of House education or Senate education. We've talked a lot about, there's a couple different maps that are floating around. They get changed. Probably, the Senate one has been getting updates probably every couple of days. The House one is pretty much where it's at. They haven't been able to have anything come out of committee. For all of you that know this, I'll explain in a minute what it means, but we're past crossover, which means that bills have to have been voted out of one of either the House or the Senate and go to the other one for consideration. That was last week, but both Senate and House have been given extensions on their work to try to get this done. I will tell you that I would ask you to pay attention to your email in the next week from me. There may be a time where we all need to start getting vocal. And that's as much as I can tell you right now, because things are all, as I said last time, they were all over the place. They're still all over the place, and there's some interesting different options being discussed right now. So that could be helpful or not. Thanks for the chuckle over there, Mary Ann and Nakuma. But I think that's the best way to put it. Is it's literally changing hourly right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they feel the pressure is felt that, from what the governor said at the beginning of the session, that he's not going to sign anything tax or budget until the education moves. So that pressure is mounting every day quite a bit. So
Thank you.
stay tuned.
Next item on the agenda is superintendent evaluation. That will be handled in executive session. I want to make a motion to move superintendent evaluation into executive session per VSA, subsection 313A1, because we're making a very specific finding that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or person involved at a substantial disadvantage. Would someone second my motion?
Second. Joanna?
Thank you, thank you. Let's call for a vote. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Nilda?
Oh,
Opposed signify by saying no. No, any abstentions? Hearing none, that will come up in executive session a little later.
is this just a procedural? Yeah, I think she's good. You're good, right, Joanna? Yeah, okay.
Did somebody say need something?
No, thank you.
Okay. Next is negotiations update. Also an executive session item. Want to make a motion to move item executive negotiations update into executive session per VSA subsection 313A1 because there is a specific finding that premature general knowledge would clearly place the public body or a person involved at a substantial disadvantage. Would someone second that motion?
Second.
Thank you. Gonna vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Any abstentions? Hearing none, we're gonna move on to the rest of the agenda. The next item is board retreat. We'll talk about the structure and topic to discuss. Bill?
Thanks, Nelda. We talked about this a little bit last time, but I really would like to have some input. Last year, we took the retreat as a time to look at, the intent was district and board goals. And we really looked at the district goals. I don't think the board goals were analyzed that much. I remember a few of you saying, hey, we'd like to look at the district goals some more, and we haven't gotten back to that. But I took all of our monitoring reports and put those together and gave you a catalog of what was talked about and the strategic plan. I took the feedback that I got from you, either verbally or in affirming ways, that was something that worked for people. And so is that something that you want to do again this year? Doesn't have to be the only thing, but is that something that you want to do again this year? To try to give us some upstanding of where we are with the district and board goals.
Nilda, you're muted.
Anyone interested in that? Is that repetitive from last time?
I'm not opposed to it. I'm hoping that we could also correlate that with board goals and how, like I love the idea of us doing the the little cards where we talk about the places that we've been and how it meets in. I'd like to go a little deeper into that and find some more additional meaningful ways to provide that feedback.
Okay.
I think if it's more of an overview, yes, because last time we spent so much time on it, I think it'd be really nice to go into the board goals and make sure that since we did this district last time, making sure that we're doing our side too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't have the retreat date right in front of me, but it's not for a little while, so.
Right, it's May. It's
18th, I think it is.
Yeah, something like that.
So we have time to develop this plan, but basically, we need to, stay with our government's role, which is to monitor our progress toward both district goals and board goals. So.
Yeah, what I heard, Nilda, what I heard from everyone was a little bit more time on the district goals and to talk about what you're doing as a board and investigate how you could do more.
Yeah, like the board goals that we set as well. So how can we incorporate the two and provide evidence that
we're doing our side.
We're doing our side too.
Yeah.
Sounds great. This might come up again at another agenda as we're trying to, streamline this process. Next item, new business. We have the 2026-2027 school calendar. You have it in attachment 8A, Bill.
Yep, this is a calendar that gets developed collaboratively with not only Franklin County, which is our main group of supervisory unions and school districts, but everyone in Champlain Valley, because we feel like we need to have all of us in alignment. There are a couple days here and there that I can't say that all 16 districts or supervisory unions are the same, but it's very, very close. And one of the things we learned, and has really become true since I've been here, it's become more and more evident that when one school is out, that you think, oh, they might be in southern Chittenden County, it affects us and able to run in our schools because we lose staff, because they may have to stay home for kids or for some other reason. So we're trying to be very tight, and in fact, we all see the effect. It doesn't matter where we are in the 4 counties. So this is the calendar that we came up with. It pretty much meets the patterns of this current school year.
Perfect.
And I just remind the board, if Act 73 stays in place, next year the calendar is set statewide by the Agency of Education. And we won't have any peace on that.
I bet we won't.
Fun things like
What'd you say? I said, I bet we won't. I'll just be one aspect.
Right, right. I agree with
Okay, any questions about school calendar? Okay, we're gonna move on to 8B. So what I need is a motion to elect the business manager position into the Vermont Municipal Employee Retirement System Group effective July 1st, 2026. All business managers hired after that date of this vote would participate in Group C. Can I have that motion to continue?
I'll make the motion to come on.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Charlie. Okay, for discussion, Bill, you're gonna
I'll introduce this.
tell us what we're doing?
Well, this is something that this board, usually you are gracious with your trust in us as a team to administer the district. The retirement board requires that the school board vote on this. This is not something normally I would bring to you. We've talked there, most of the people that are on the leadership team or administrators are licensed educators. So we're in the teacher's retirement system. But there are 4 positions that don't have it, and the business manager is one that doesn't require an educator's license. And so they're in what's known as the municipal retirement system. And so Brianne would like to access Group C, which is a higher contribution on her part. It's a little bit of a higher contribution for us as an organization, but I recommend that we do this, as it's something, and we've offered it to the other employee, the other 3 that are in this, and she was the only one that wanted to go there. And so the reason the motion is worded as tight as it is, that Nilda just read, is because the retirement board has said we need to have that motion. And as I said, normally I wouldn't bring it to you because we're not talking a lot of dollars here, we're just talking a switch for retirement options.
Any question for Bill? Hearing none, we're gonna take a vote. All in favor of the motion as I read, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a topic here called special meeting for construction bid opening, March 25th at 5 p.m. via remote. Bill's gonna give us a little rundown up, please.
We were trying, as you know, we're going for building projects or renovation projects at town school, at city school, at BFA, and at Fairfield. The summer projects we talked about back in December. We were hoping all those bids would be here by tonight. They are not. But to keep us on construction, we can do this meeting via a remote access through Zoom, just as Nilda is tonight. And so we were hoping next Wednesday at 5 o'clock, but if it needs to go to 6, we could do that. But I didn't know if 5 would be easier for everyone with a Zoom option, just to have that, and we just need a quorum of the board. This is, it'll be 5 motions, five separate contracts, but.
Will it be here by tomorrow night?
It won't be here by tomorrow night. So we won't have time to review them all. Bids come in tomorrow, but I won't have time to review and make sure we have everything right. So I thought of that since we are meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah, just a lot of meetings this month.
I understand. I felt bad about this.
Do we have a quorum that can attend March 25th at 5 or 6?
Via Zoom?
Via Zoom. Via Zoom.
Yeah, I can do it.
Yes. I need what, 5 for a quorum? 1, 2, 3, 4. I need the other half of the table, whoever's monitoring the table. Okay, so I think we have a quorum.
Yeah.
So is 5 o'clock better than 6?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5.
That works?
5 is preferable to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get a Zoom.
Okay.
We'll get a Zoom link.
So it's going to be March 25th at 5 o'clock, definitely via Zoom. And obviously, Bill, if we have advanced information before that meeting, to get it to us so we can review.
Yep. I hope to have you everything by Monday is my hope. It will definitely have
Okay.
it by Tuesday, but Monday is the goal.
And Aaron, you're gonna put an invitation in our calendar related to this meeting, right?
It should be in your inbox in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Talk about proficiency.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is unpaid leave request. The requester is Rebecca Palmer at Sage Tech Educator. The administration has recommended to grant the leave as requested. So may I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Gil, any other discussion related to this, or is that the information we need?
You said what I would have said. I recommend that you grant the request.
Okay, as requested.
As requested.
Specifically. All right, so we're gonna vote. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed signify by saying no. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, next item is confidential student matter. We're gonna handle that also in executive session. So, I'm gonna make a motion to move item 8E into executive session per VSA, subsection 313A1. After making a specific finding, which we're doing right now, that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or the person involved at a substantial disadvantage. Would someone second my motion?
I'll second it, Joanna.
Thank you, Joanna. We're going to vote on this motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Abstention? Hearing none. Motion carried. Okay, so we'll have to handle that in executive session. Next item is other business. First item is warrants. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the warrants. Is there a second?
I'll second it for
Thank you.
These warrants don't have Jen's name on them, they have Amanda's name on them.
Oh.
We will get that fixed. Thank you. Can we just cross out the bottom and straighten?
Yep. Okay, great. There you go.
Thanks for picking that up, whoever noticed that. That's great.
Carly did.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the warrants with the correction of the board name. And I need, have a second. We're going to have a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carried. Next item is Bill with the superintendent report.
I'll be brief because I know we still have a lot of work to do. Last week was I Love to Read Week throughout all Maple Run, especially the pre-K-8 schools. We had a tremendous turnout of guest readers, so I just want to thank you to the community. It was great to have everyone here. Each day had different themes of fun things to do, and kids put together bookmarks, and we partnered with Rotary to give out other bookmarks, and they were really helpful. Rotary has come to us and said, we really want to help promote literacy for Maple Run. So it's something we're teaming with them on, and they have many other ideas. So it's really a great partnership. And the other thing that I want to, two other things I want to say quickly. There's a family school relationship survey, as you heard, is out right now. So if you haven't done it and you're a family member of a student, and I take extended family as well, please fill that out. It would be great. I found out today that we're about 60 short of where we were last year for number for people who had responded, but we still have another week or so to go that we're collecting. And there's no school on Friday due to parent-teacher conferences. And then the last thing, Nilda, I would just ask that you state that Aaron can put in the record that votes taken tonight, you were the only remote person. We didn't do them by roll call, we just did them by voice vote, so it might be just good to note that in the minutes.
Good point. Thank you. Aaron Smith, can you note that in the minutes, please?
Will do.
Sort of at the beginning of the motions. So we're not, we're doing everything legally.
Well, yeah, I think you'll be fine with just noting that you were the only one remote and
Yeah.
you didn't by voice vote that way.
Thank you. For the best laid plans, I have so many notes on this agenda, you think I'd not forget something, but
It's okay.
next item is board announcements. Any board member have any announcements?
Just a cool thing, BFA participated in the regional 1X on Saturday down in Mill River Union High School, and I got the pleasure of getting up for 6:30 a.m. and coming back to BFA at 11:30 at night. It was a long day, but they did very well, and they're going to be competing. They're one of two that participate in the regional that will be competing at the state festival next month.
Excellent. Any other board announcements? I only have one thing as part of Jen's welcoming to board. We have to have a board orientation scheduled with her. Bill and Charlie and I talked about having it be Bill, Charlie, and I, and Jen to do the orientation, so we don't have to take the whole board to, everybody can be welcome to come, but those are, I think, the three of us plus Jen need to schedule that. So Jen, you'll be hearing from Aaron, I believe, and I think we probably need an hour and a half at the most for this.
Probably.
Right, Bill?
Yeah, sometimes it's been an hour to an hour and a half. I mean,
Yeah.
usually with one person, it might be about an hour. But I think Aaron
Yeah.
can he does a good job of trying to find what's going to work for everybody.
Yeah, so stay tuned, Jen.
Okay.
Any other board announcements? Okay, the other thing is board observations and reflections. As Joanna mentioned, we're still doing those, so events that are attended, please fill out those forms. It is helpful for at least one aspect of our monitoring of our goals. So until we come up with a different plan, that's the plan we're continuing. Maybe we'll come up with something different at the retreat. Okay, agenda items for future meetings. Does anyone have anything they want to yell out? Okay, I'm not hearing any, so then the next item is executive session. So, two things I'm gonna do. First, I'm gonna make the motion to go into executive session, and then I'm gonna tell you who needs to be at the three executive sessions, because there's some differences in each one of them. So, I move to enter into executive session to discuss collectively 3 items: the student matter, negotiations update, not collectively. We're going to be in executive session collectively. We're not going to discuss them collectively. Student matter, negotiations update, and student evaluation. And we're going into executive session probably by 8 o'clock per BSA subsection 313A1. Would someone second that motion? Please. Thank you. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. I'm sorry that last section went so fast, but I was trying to make up a little time.
Bye, Spike.
Was that?
I'm just saying bye to Spike.
Can we keep Spike in
Okay,
executive
bye,
session?
Yeah, he doesn't know English, he can stay.
Make sure the record reflects that we said bye to Spike.
My dog, hot dog, treat.
Treat.
Here.
Food.
Okay, I think this is the order that's gonna work the best, because it keeps people in the room until they need to leave. So the first one is a student matter, and we need board and Bill. The second one's gonna be negotiations update. We need the board, Bill, and Becky,
And you might as well add Bree.
and Bree, sorry. And Bree. The third one is superintendent evaluation, and we're gonna have the board and Becky without Bill. So, how are we gonna do this? Is there room?
No, we're gonna stay here.
Okay.
Everyone else is gonna leave.
All right, so we are now in executive session, and, well, I'm going to say that executive session is over at 8:45, and the meeting is adjourned at 8:46. Is that enough?
Yep. We're done.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.